Today we celebrate the culmination and the efforts and hard work of so many as we commence on a new chapter in the Anderson Arts Center's history. This project lets us see firsthand our partnership between the city and the county has benefited the entire community through the combined preservation of history and continued support of the arts. Thank you to County Executive Jim Cruiser. Let's give him a round here, folks. And our Mayor John Antaramian, thank him as well. What a great partnership and great leadership in our community here in southeastern Wisconsin. Great bunch of guys here. Thank you too. Appreciate that. It's been a privilege to be part of the process, working along with many fine individuals who helped bring the Anderson Arts Center to its current beauty today. There are some people I had monthly meetings with from the onset of construction till its completion. John Camozzi and his company, our general contractor and his team, his daughter, Bob Nikolai, Mark Vitus. He's the site superintendent. Where is Mark? Yeah, that's what I thought. Out of sight, Mark.
He's over there, right there.
Every time. Where is he? There he is. Okay. That guy there knows where more hiding places in this mansion are than the family itself. I can tell you that. He'd see me coming over the soccer field. I come in here, where's Mark? I see his truck out there. I don't know. Well, I'll start coming in the other door, and then he couldn't see me there. There you go. So, no, great guy, no doubt about it. The county team, great bunch of guys. Ray Arbit, Frank Martinelli, Matt Collins, Jim Cuffer, our chief of staff, Jenny Tunkeys, all part of this group. Phenomenal bunch of people to work with. Very team player, very team oriented. It was a pleasure and honor for me to work with them as well. Steve Marpol's here. I think there's Steve Marpol's here somewhere. Yeah, there he is. He isn't too far away from here. He's president of Insight Consulting Architects, and I want to thank him and his staff for the wonderful work they did on this project. I really mean that. Steve is very insightful, as the name of his company suggests, and I mean that too. And there are many more fine contractors that worked on this project. They're listed on the back of your program. Contractors like Lee Plumbing, Mechanical, Dick Alcizak, and many others. I'd like to give a warm welcome to the members of the Anderson family. I had the pleasure to meet many of them before the event started, and I appreciate that, and I look for their insight and their continued support, and I wish them all the best, and I hope that we've done them proud. I hope we've done them proud. Our welcome to our state and local officials, and many friends, patrons, and supporters of the Anderson Arts Center. I'd like to also welcome the League of Milwaukee Artists and the Kenosha area artists who graciously agreed to participate in our grand reopening by being our first exhibitors. Thank you to you folks. I think we have 176 pieces of art throughout the structure here. That's phenomenal. That is just, it's just outstanding. I'm just so elated by all that. Art in many of its forms, be it music, dance, painting, photography, I could go on, helps bring out the humanity in people. Art brings out joy, brings out laughter, tells stories, provides therapy, even helps us learn more about ourselves. Even on the darkest of days, if one looks hard enough, one can see the sparkle and glisten of a raindrop. At this time, I'd like to introduce our new administrator of Anderson Arts Center, Rena Lee. Where are you, Rena? Somewhere, she's got to be somewhere. There you go. We are very fortunate to have Rena join the Kemper team to help lead the newly renovated center into the new era. Rena comes to us with a master's degree in history and museum studies from Colorado State University. Her experience with non-for-profits, museum, and the art world is extensive and will propel the Anderson Art Center to a new level of excellence. I'd also like to acknowledge the never-ending hard work and dedication and support of our board members, alumni, elected officials, my staff, my volunteers, artists, and supporters who continue to believe in Kemper Center and the Anderson Arts Center. Through their combined efforts, we are poised to become a cultural beacon in the Midwest. Also at this time, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fantastic support of Pat Mott. Pat is a member, Kemper Hall alumni. She's on the Alumni Association. She's a Kemper Center board member. She's also led our hospitality team this past year as a volunteer. She's had unwavering support for us and generosity towards our organization. This is a major component in helping organize. She has been a major component in helping organize this event this evening. Thank you very much, Pat. I would also like to thank Ms. Penny Enroth, Mr. Gary Gronke for helping underwrite parts of the celebration this evening. It has been their creativity, generosity through the years that have put Anderson Art Center and the Kemper Center on the map. I want to thank them as well. One thing I'd like to talk just a little bit about the project before I close. I know I've got your attention now, so that's a good thing. We did a lot of extensive work here. I'm going to tell you, what you don't see primarily is like the geothermal field. You don't see that because that's all underground. We dug 20 holes, 300 feet deep. We're using the heating and cooling of the earth to heat and cool this place, so it's all forward thinking there. But when we were digging those holes, people would come up to me and say, "Ed, what are you doing back there? What are you doing back there?" I says, I'm digging for oil to help sustain ourselves here at Anderson Art Center. That's what I'm doing back there. Jokingly, obviously. But that's something that you don't see. Some of the other things that you don't see is when we took off the clay tile roof and redid the under roofing. All the clay tiles that went around the chimneys and the dormers, they were numbered. They were put back to their original position. That's detail. That's detail. That's something that you don't know about, hear about. We've done it here. Historic preservation at its best at Anderson Art Center. Another thing I'd like to discuss is even the wood around the windows and the shutters and all that. Those windows and shutters were sent out to a specialist out in the Madison area and to determine what kind of species of wood it was. So when we rebuilt the shutters and windows that need replacing and renewal, were put back with the same species of wood as originally. So again, attention to detail. It's a big thing. The other thing is here was we included wheelchair accessible bathrooms in the garage area, which you won't notice from looking on the outside. It's all done inside. So with the wheelchair accessibility, I think we're more inclusive than exclusive in what we've done here. So I think that's important, ladies and gentlemen. In closing, I believe 2020 is poised to be one of the most exciting years of Anderson Art Center's history. And once again, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude for all those helping make this promising future come to pass. Thank you. Mr. Davis Anderson will make his remarks now.
Kenosha County Executive Cruiser, Kenosha Mayor Antaramian, Kemper Executive Director Kubicki. Ladies and gentlemen, what a fantastic and momentous day for Kenosha and for our family. I am Davis Anderson, grandson of James Robson Anderson and Janet Lance Anderson, both of whom built this magnificent house 90 years ago. I am joined here by 4 of the 7 living out of 12 grandchildren of our grandparents. Annie Chase Redmond from Connecticut, Jeff Pope from California, Sam Anderson from Montana, and Hannibal Anderson from Alaska and Montana. My cousin Hannibal actually runs a school district in Alaska that he told me is the size of Ohio. As well as 7 great-grandchildren out of 29, and even 1 great-grandchild, Anderson James. Great-grandchild out of 40. Jeff, Hannibal, and Sam are the sons of my uncle Andy Anderson, and Andy is the daughter of my aunt, Alice Ann Anderson Chase. My father, Jim, or Jimmy, was the youngest of the Anderson family. If you do the math, that is 84 total descendants that came out of this house. Both of our grandparents had extensive roots in Kenosha going back to the mid-19th century and were deeply committed to their home city. From the building of this house here in Kenosha, not closer to Chicago or Milwaukee or some East Coast fancier place, to our grandfathers driving a Rambler, or more properly a Nash Rambler, built here in Kenosha until almost the day he died, to our grandmother sending the grandchildren care packages of cheese and salami from Bobby Nelson's cheese shop, to the day in 1977 when this house was deeded to Kenosha County as part of the Kemper Center. Kenosha is where they proudly lived and raised their family. When an individual makes the decision to donate an asset later in life, the longer-term fate of that asset naturally is never known to the donor. In the case of this house, it could have deteriorated and then eventually been destroyed as an eyesore and a hazard. The parkland would have remained, but not the house. Instead, the county and city leaders made the decision early on to affiliate the house with the Kemper Center and create the Anderson Art Center, which has caused life and civic purpose to resonate through this building for almost 30 years. But that doesn't solve the issues of building infrastructure. Those are not issues that are resolved easily in a political environment. Who gets credit for replacing a roof, or fixing walls and chimneys, or putting new electrical wiring in place, or putting this fancy geothermal arrangement that's underground and up, we saw up on the 3rd floor up here, at an art center owned by a government entity? That is what makes what you all have accomplished here so amazing. Our grandparents, and my father, aunt, and uncle would be incredibly pleased to know that the decisions made in 1977, 43 years ago, will continue to resonate in this community for many generations to come. And it was amazing. Ed took us on the tour through all the bits and pieces everywhere, including some rooms that we weren't welcome in. And a huge credit to the design architects and the contractors for really trying to make this done right, and you point that out, and well done. I have to say, as someone with obvious roots in Kenosha, Wisconsin, but as a lifelong resident of Illinois, see, you laugh. A flatlander to some of you, or maybe to others somewhat less generously, a fib. And you all know, I am astounded by what you could accomplish here. But then it occurred to me that in fact, as an Illinois resident, I have contributed to this project. Without our wonderfully dysfunctional government, our massively underfunded pensions, high property taxes, and the threat of all taxes going higher, Kenosha County wouldn't be prospering. As companies and people flee north across the border. So please, give the Flatlanders a little bit of credit. I would like now to spend a few minutes putting some life into both this house and the people who lived in it. One feature of this property every winter for many years was an ice rink in the northwest corner over here, the corner of 66th Street and 3rd Avenue. The boys were required to spend all night carefully spray layering ice so that it would freeze into a perfect skating surface. The boys meaning my father and uncle. It was a laborious process, but people came from all over the neighborhood to skate. Hockey games were frequent, much to the chagrin of the younger and more timid skaters. As grandchildren, visiting this house and our grandparents was as special as anything could be. Grandma and Grandpa, as my siblings and I called them, were warm and generous people, but also with a level of class and formality that caused us to respect, almost revere them and hang on their every word. And this was a house of stories. Our grandmother in particular was a jokester and a storyteller, and that's her portrait in the library and what was her office over there in the corner. Very often telling stories on herself, such as when dancing with a Kenosha gentleman. In this room, they held many dinner parties with dancing. She remarked, "My, there are some pretty young ladies here tonight." To which her dancing partner turned to her and said, "Jane, there are some pretty old ones too." She loved the story about the funeral of a prominent Kenosha dignitary whose funeral procession to the cemetery became separated when a Northwestern train came through and stopped the back half of the procession. Grandma was in the lead of the second group, which included a large number of cars. The train eventually passed, and she raced off toward the cemetery, trailing tens of cars behind her, identified the gravesite, and they all pulled up and jumped out of their cars. Grandma discovered too late that she led them to the wrong burial. As this house and land demonstrate, our grandparents were always generous, but often not without making some appropriate point. Cousin Annie, who attended Kemper Hall, following both her grandmother and her mother, needed some money to acquire a sailfish, a small sailboat. She asked Grandpa if he would front a modest amount of money for her. "Yes," he said, "I will consider supporting your goal, but first you must get through the first semester at Kemper without getting kicked out." She eventually got the money, but it was nip and tuck, and knowing Annie, somewhere around here, the only way she got through was the prospect of her sailfish. I will finish by briefly talking about the food served in this house. And boy, the food tonight has been great. Thank you. Thank you. The bar is pretty good, too. I am sure by today's standards it may not have measured up to 3 Michelin stars, but to us it was the best food anywhere. And a lot of it was local, including incredible fish perch from Lake Michigan in the summer, or bluegills from Channel Lake in the winter, caught fresh that day by our grandfather. And you may think French toast is a pretty mundane food. Oh no, not here. Helene, who lived in the apartment above the kitchen, which was one of the places we never went in there. And it's amazing, I didn't know how many rooms there were. But she lived in the apartment and ran the house with a very firm hand. she was the mastermind of this French toast. French toast, and I mean full slices of bread, in the morning resulted in contests that were entered into not at all unwillingly. I think my personal record was 13 or 14 slices. The absolute record was in the high teens, maybe even the low 20s. My brother-in-law, 6'5", about 250 pounds, arrived here as a newly minted member of the family and had 3 slices. That was it. Helene glared at him and declared disgustedly, "You ain't no Anderson." On behalf of our family, those present here today and those not present, departed generations and current ones, I want to congratulate the county, the city, Kemper Center, the contractors, the design architects, direct and indirect contributors, and citizens of Kenosha County on your newly renovated art center. It is a matter of community achievement that the Anderson family is proud to be here today to witness, and we are grateful for the invitation to join you all in celebration. On the event of Grandma's 90th birthday, my uncle, Annie's father, Art Chase, wrote a poem in her honor. I will conclude by quoting a few lines. For warmth of its welcome, her home's never been beaten. Just think of the ducks and the perch we have eaten. At the yellow room, which is the room right here in the head to the left of the stairs, and the boys' room, which is behind that over there, the welcome mat is out, and the power of the shower is enough to shout about. Thank you very much to you all for bringing back the memories.
Now our county executive will have some comments. Thank you.
Well, Davis, those were splendid comments. You could have just dropped the mic. Every day, great things happen in Kenosha County. But today, the greatest thing that happened is when I was able to tour the house at 4 o'clock with you and your family. Everybody in the Anderson family, please raise your hand. That was so gratifying to see the stories being told, retold, what the rooms were for, the rooms people were in and not in. I didn't know that, I didn't know this. That historically was just wonderful to observe. And I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you making the travels. Who's the farthest one? Alaska. Oh, wow. Thank you all for making the trek. I want to thank everyone here who made this momentous day possible. It started with Janet, but there was a building in disrepair. How about that Ed Kubicki, Director of Kemper Center? Doing a terrific job. All the board members on Kemper, the past board members, the members of the Alumni Association, the ones who have worked, the volunteers, and the contributors to Kemper Center. Without the passion, we would be a shadow of what we are now. This would not happen. There is passion in this room. Passion of the people who gave their time and their treasure and their talent to make this happen. Thank you very much. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen without my friend the mayor. The mayor and I partner on scores and scores of things, from highways to we're looking at shoreline revetments. The Care Center, which helps the outpatient mental health individuals in our, about 800 people a year. And now the Cultural Center of Anderson Arts Center. Mayor, thank you for all your significant help and partnership with Kenosha County. Ed Kubicki had it right in the paper when he said it's a great example of the city-county working again together on something for the good of the overall community. And in this day of taxes and inside pressures and outside forces, the arts sometimes get squeezed out. And here we're expanding them. Thank you, Illinois. The great team at Kenosha County. This doesn't happen without my chief of staff, Jenny Tunkeys, Ray Arbit, Frank Martinelli, Matt Collins. Raise your hands and give them all a round of applause. I lean on them very heavy, very heavily. The Camozzi Construction, John Camozzi, Bob Nicolai, Mark Vitus. The attention to detail and historical accuracy, 5-star. Well done. Insight, first the courthouse, now here, you're 2 for 2. Thank you, Steve. Well done. Thank you. And last and not least, without the Anderson family and the vision they had and their philanthropic ways, not only with the Anderson House, there's many other things they've done in the community. And they were executives of different companies and have employed people, hardworking people in Kenosha, and have helped this community lift themselves up, sent people to college who worked for them. And this home, without them, we wouldn't be here today. And this project wouldn't be possible without Janet Lance Anderson, who built this beautiful home with her husband. They really didn't build it, they hired someone to build it. James Anderson in 1929 deeded the property to the county, and then it became part of Kemper Center after she passed away. We thank the Andersons for their family's generosity. We are so proud to have you all here today. We are very proud. Give it up for the Anderson family. Thank you, Davis, for introducing your family to this Kenosha family, because we all came here from Kenosha at one time. I really appreciated your comments and doing that together. And it only happens in Kenosha that way, is when we all pull together, that we can make sure this jewel in our lakefront will be here for generations to come. Spend here about 90 years. Let's shoot for 90 more. Again, thanks to all who came here. At this time, I'd like to introduce my good friend and partner in this project, and I'd like to thank the county board, obviously, and the city council for their help in this. John Antaranian, Mayor of the City of Kenosha.
You know, it's always interesting to me, people always ask me what the toughest part of my job is. It's following Jim. He's now thanked everybody. He's done just about everything you can do. So first off, I do want to thank the Andersons and the wonderful gift that you have given us and the wonderful opportunity we have in this community because of you. And so welcome back home. You're always welcome here, and never forget, this is home. So. What I think I want everyone to remember is we talk about all the wonderful things going on in Kenosha County, all the economic development, all the new projects that are happening. All of those are wonderful, but they don't happen without a rebirth in the cultural aspects of a community, without the arts, without the quality of life that this presents to us. Because in the end, that is what you're remembered for. In the end, it's the culture and the quality of life that bring all those Flatlanders.
That's a nice word, thank you.
I'm a politician, I've been around a long time. But it is those aspects of a community that truly make a community. You know, there's an old phrase of, a community is only as strong as its weakest neighborhood. It's true in the same with the arts. A community is only as strong as the culture that it brings forward, the nurturing that we give to young artists and the ability of them to work and know they can succeed in a community. Anderson Arts Center is a piece of that. It is something that becomes very important when we look at the quality of life and what we bring. So I wish to congratulate everyone, and I appreciate Jim bringing forward the proposal to me and asking if we could work together to get this done. And I appreciate he did that because you know what? It is something that is good for all of us. And so the city was more than glad to participate. And with that, I have to thank my council, because I think sometimes everyone forgets that I just can't do things by myself. I think they'd like to do things by myself. Somehow the system doesn't quite work that way. So I need the support of my council, and they have been there. They understand the need, they understand culture, and they understand what has to happen to make us a better community. So again, thank you all for being here. To the Andersons, thank you for your gift. To the Jim, thank you for taking a lead and making this happen. So everyone truly enjoy this wonderful cultural experience. At this time, I will introduce John Camozzi, who, as a general contractor, made this all work.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, as president of a construction company, the best part of my job is going to groundbreakings and to grand openings. So it's awesome to be here for the grand reopening of the Anderson Arts Center. For a project to be labeled as successful, we kind of go by these rules. Number one, it has to be done at or below budget. It should be done on the owner's schedule. And the owner needs to be impressed and his expectations satisfied with the end result. This project checks all three of the boxes. So how do we actually accomplish that? Well, it takes three parties to work together as a team. The owner, the architect, and the construction manager. The owner has to have a vision of what he would like this project to look like when it's done. The owner also has to be actively engaged in the project from pre-construction through construction and commissioning. And Kenosha County and the Kemper Center was absolutely a great owner on this project. Project also requires a great architect, especially with a historic renovation project of this scope. He has to know what he's doing, and he has to be a great partner. Insight was a wonderful design partner on this project. We couldn't be happier. And yes, the construction manager has to be able to anticipate all the challenges that are going to happen in a historic renovation. We try to do that in pre-construction, and then we plan how we will handle those challenges. We also have to anticipate there'll be some new challenges that come up during the construction, and we have to do that. We were very fortunate to have a great project manager in Bob Nicolai and a great field superintendent, Mark Vitus, who accomplished all of that. The last thing I wanted to say is thank you, County Exec Cruiser, the county board, the mayor, the city council, for just allowing us to be part of this wonderful project. I'm going to turn it over to Steve Marpole from Insight, and he's going to talk a little bit about the project.
Well, good evening, and I'd like to extend my thank you to everybody involved in getting us involved with this project and allowing us the opportunity to once again work on such a significant cultural asset here in the city of Kenosha. We have partnered with the county on several projects, as Mr. Cruiser mentioned, and we are always amazed by the ability of this community to get together and support the preservation and restoration of its cultural assets. Specifically, in my case, it's architecture, but there is an amazing commitment in this city, and and county, and we are very pleased to be part of it. So, many times you've heard people talk about buildings having good bones. Has anybody heard that phrase before? These are the best bones I've ever had the pleasure to work with. From day one, the commitment from the architect and the owners, the Anderson family, everybody involved clearly had the highest of quality standards in mind. So as we're working with these materials and these elements and spaces and stone and windows, we're working with the best of the best materials, which makes our job a little bit easier and certainly a little bit more difficult too. Working with Mark Vitus, and Mark, really, please raise your hand. Mark represents specifically what it takes to make a project like this happen. Mr. Cruiser talked about passion. This group of people that work in this building had nothing but passion, passion, and passion. Passion gets you so far. It's skill that makes the project really happen in the end. We have architectural skills, but Mark and his team and all of the subcontractors add the construction skills. I'll give just to give you a little bit of the minutia, okay? So the shutters are beautifully restored. Again, we talked about the original materials, the Douglas fir, gorgeous material. The things that hold those shutters open, there's little metal rods that go into a receiver. Well, the only way it would work would be if the receiver goes in and the receiver actually latches on. Mark had custom-made springs to make sure that the spring lock would clamp down on that little post and make sure that the shutters stayed open. Tiny, tiny little detail. That man did a great job. And that kind of commitment, passion, and skill, that kind of passion, commitment, and skill followed through everybody, from my team, from all of the Camosi team, and from all of their subs. So again, thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity to work on this building. We're very proud of the outcome. I hope that you agree that it is as beautiful as it could possibly be. And I agree, the 90-year comment, this was done to a 90-year standard. Oh, and one last thing. So the whole thing about the geothermal, it's efficient, and it's a great heating and cooling system. But it was the best way to take this jewel of a building that is in a jewel box of a park and heat it and cool it in a way that you don't see big equipment humming in the middle of the day to keep the place cool. It's all happening underground, very quiet. So it was a beautiful commitment by the county to spend that money to get that done. And again, very efficient. Anyways, that's it. Thank you.
Now, Susan Steinhoff will give some remarks. She's the exhibit chairperson of all this beautiful artwork that you see here. Susan, if you will.
Thank you very much. Don't get worried with my clipboard, it's just a crunch. It's gonna be very short and brief. It's like the cherry on the cake, small but important. I would like to dearly thank the Anderson family and the Anderson Art Center. Candace, you were amazing in curating this entire project. And for Robin and for Rena, they were all extremely supportive, and we appreciate them so much. I am truly touched by being here. I've listened to all of the wonderful talks here that parallel the League of Milwaukee Artists and how we are. It's just truly in the stars of why we are here, because we're passionate and dedicated, and we're very community oriented. And my last name actually is very community oriented here in Kenosha. Steinhoffel from Steinhoffel's Furniture. We have a store here that's truly blends in with the community and supports it very well. My husband Tom is there, and we really appreciate the city of Kenosha. And the League of Milwaukee Artists, we've got over 39 artists here that represent the League of Milwaukee Artists. We've been established over 70 years, which is pretty incredible. Mel Tess was one of the founding members, of which we have a scholarship to support the students in the continuing education of the arts. So we're very passionate about the arts. And our president is here, Judith Murthy-Gan. She is right here. Thank you very much. And our Vice President, Marcy Weinsheim, she'll be here tomorrow, I believe. And Jolie Collins, I think she's going to be here tomorrow. We're going to have a reception tomorrow, so I hope you all can come back and participate in that. We'd love to have you again. The award ceremony is going to be tomorrow, and which was extremely difficult, according to Candace. She's our juror. Thank you very much in advance. And because there's so many beautiful works here, and I just am so, I just love each and every one of the artists, and I want to just encourage them and to show them off, because I know each and every one of them, and they're completely absorbed in their craft, and every one of them is so unique and so awesome, and we really appreciate that a lot. Our group is a jury group, so it's not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry that knows how to draw a stick figure can come by, but we have such dedicated artists here. They're juried in, they're all professional, they're either national or internationally known, and all of them have received many, many awards in one way or another in their different mediums. And so they're all juried in, of which we have over 100. And so there's red binders, I believe they're over there. They include bios and prizes and cards if you're interested in learning a little bit more about our artists. They all have an individual story and education. And also there's a framed bio of the league right there. I won't go on and bore you with all of the historical information. Thank you. Thank you. That's one of our artists. Philip, raise your hand. Thank you. And how many artists are here today? We have Philip. Look, oh my goodness. Look at all the artists. Thank you all for coming down. It's, they've come a couple hours, some of them for sure, down to see you. And so more will be coming tomorrow. So if you'd like to see the bulk of them tomorrow as well, they'll be here also. I also want to recognize Tom Smith. He was here earlier, that dapper gentleman that was in the tuxedo with the bow tie, very distinctive man. He came down here. He's part of the Milwaukee Ballet Orchestra, and he had some event he was playing the cello for. So our artists are truly artists in many diverse ways. Janet Hudacek, I believe she is here. Wave your hand, Janet. There she is. She is our membership chair, so if you all are so inclined and artistically minded, give her a shout. And we also have Deb Patterson. She's our financial officer. Mary Prince and Marie Childress, they're a part of our public relations group, and Donna Stotts, she's our hospitality chair. We all have a wonderful board. We all work well together, and we all just love the arts. And we appreciate you having us here. And it's all part of a historic event, a big family reunion, and it's everything that we adore and love. And so we appreciate your looking at all of our artwork, and it is for sale. But all that information is available for you. But we love this building. We love working with all of the staff here, and we appreciate you having us. So thank you very much.
At this time, I'd like to do a ceremonial ribbon cutting with the Anderson family, if I can have them gather up in front here. and let's get us all together here. Would that be nice?
All right.